My name is Aubrey Wilman, and I will be performing "To This Day" by Shane Koisa. Thank you. When I was a kid, I used to think that pork chops and karate chops were the same thing. I thought they were both pork chops. And because my grandmother thought it was cute, and because they were my favorite, she let me keep doing it. Not really a big deal. But one day, before I realized fat kids are not designed to climb trees, I fell out of a tree and bruised the right side of my body. I didn't want to tell my grandmother about it because I was scared that I would get in trouble for playing somewhere I shouldn't have been. A few days later, the gym teacher noticed the bruise and I got sent to the principal's office. From there, I was sent to a small room with a really nice lady who asked me all kinds of questions about my life at home. I saw no reason to lie. As far as I was concerned, life is pretty good. I told her whenever I'm sad, my grandmother gives me karate chops. This led to a full-scale investigation, and I was removed from the house for 3 days before they finally decided to ask how I got the bruises. News of this silly little story quickly spread through the school, and I earned my first nickname, Pork Chop. To this day, I hate pork chops. I'm not the only kid who grew up this way. Surrounded by people who used to say that rhyme about sticks and stones. As if broken bones hurt more than the names that we got called, and we got called them all. So we grew up believing that no one would ever fall in love with us, that we'd be lonely forever. So broken heartstrings bled the blues as we tried to empty ourselves so we would feel nothing. Don't tell me that hurts less than a broken bone. That an ingrown life is something you can throw away. That there's no way that it could metastasize. It does. She was 8 years old. Our first day of grade 3 when she got called ugly. We both got moved to the back of class so we would stop getting bombarded by spitballs. But the school halls were a battleground, and we found ourselves outnumbered day after wretched day. We used to stay inside for recess because outside was worse. Outside we'd have to rehearse running away or learn to stay still, like statues, giving no clues that we were there. In grade 5, they taped a sign to the front of her desk that read, "Beware of dog." To this day, despite a loving husband, she'll never think she's beautiful because of a birthmark that takes up a little less than half her face. Kids used to say she looks like a wrong answer that someone tried to erase but couldn't quite get the job done. And they'll never understand that she's raising 2 kids whose definition of beauty begins with the word mom. Because they see her heart before they see her skin. Because she's only ever always going to be amazing. He was a broken branch, grafted onto a different family tree. Adopted. Not because his parents opted for a different destiny. He was 3 when he became a mixed drink of 1 part left alone and 2 parts tragedy. Started therapy in 8th grade. Had a personality made up of tests and pills. Lived like the uphills were mountains and the downhills were cliffs. 4/5 suicidal, a tidal wave of antidepressants, and an adolescence of being called pauper. 1 part because of the pills. 99 parts because of the cruelty. He tried to kill himself in grade 10 when a kid who could still go home to mom and dad had the audacity to tell him, "Get over it." As if depression is something that can be solved by any of the content found in a first aid kit. To this day, he is a stick of TNT lit from both ends. Could describe to you in detail the way the sky bends and the moments before it's about to fall. And despite an army of friends who all call him an inspiration, he remains a conversation torn between pieces of people who can't understand. Sometimes being drug-free has less to do with addiction and more to do with sanity. We weren't the only kids who grew up this way. And to this day, kids are still being called names. The classics were, "Hey, stupid," a spaz. It seems like every school has an arsenal of names getting updated every year. And if a kid breaks in a school and no one around chooses to hear, do they make a sound? Or are they just background noise from a soundtrack stuck on repeat where people say things like, kids can be cruel? Every school was a big top circus tent, and the pecking order ran from acrobats to lion tamers, from clowns to carnies. All of these miles ahead of who we were. We were freaks. Lobster claw boys and bearded ladies. Oddities jumping in depression and loneliness, playing solitaire, spin the bottle, trying to kiss the wounded parts of ourselves and heal. But at night, while the others slept, we kept walking the tightrope. As practice, and yes, some of us fell. But I want to tell them that all of this is just debris, left over from when we decided to smash all the things we used to be. And if you can't see anything beautiful about yourself, get a better mirror. Look a little closer. Stare a little longer. Because there's something inside of you that made you keep trying despite everyone who told you to quit. You built a cast around your broken heart and signed it yourself. You signed it. They were wrong. And maybe you didn't belong to a group or a clique. And maybe they decided to pick you last for basketball or everything. Maybe you used to bring bruises and broken teeth to show and tell, but never told. Because how can you stand your ground when everyone around you wants to bury you beneath it? You have to believe that they were wrong. They have to be wrong. Why else would we still be here? We learn to cheer on the underdog because we see ourselves in them. We stem from a root planted in the belief that we are not what we were called. We are not empty cars stalled on some highway, and if some way we are, don't worry. We only got out to walk and get gas. We are graduating members of the class of we made it, not faded echoes of voices crying out names that never hurt me. Of course they did. For our lives will only ever always continue to be a balancing act that has less to do with pain and more to do with beauty.